Oh, the in-person folks. How about online? Can you see the
We got it.
Yeah, I can
Milwaukee
see that.
shops?
Yep, we
Okay.
got it.
Yep.
My soda. Ugh. Okay, so welcome to the January clinic. 2024, hard to believe. So tonight we're just going to do some what's on your workbench, bring and brag type things, both in person and online here, and see what everybody's been up to. Incidentally, if any of you are anywhere near or have a clinic that you would like to present to the group, please let me know. I've got some for further down the road here this year, but none for the next couple months scheduled and locked in. So if you have one and you'd like to present it, please let me know. News and announcements. So like I do every month, I plug the 4D PNR Zoom website. They're still adding videos regularly. Thanks to Byron and Burr Stewart for doing most of these, and just a lot of good information and clinics and layout tours, and it's just it's really getting to be a wealth of information on here. So I encourage you to look at it and waste some time doing that. Other announcements. Great American Train Show. We've got 2 of them actually coming up on consecutive weekends here. We've got the one down in Ridgefield at the Clark County Fairgrounds this coming weekend. And then the following weekend, of course, is the one at the Puyallup Fairgrounds on the 20th and the 21st. And if you go to trainshow.com, you can get your tickets in advance and save $1, I believe, for admission price. Both of those are 2-day events. Then, of course, the United Northwest Model Railroad Train Show up in Monroe is coming again in February. I have 10 to 4 on here, but I think on Sunday it's just a 10 to 2. I think I saw that today. Always a big, where am I going here? What's happening? Okay. And then over in Spokane is the Spring Train Show and Swap Meet put on by the River City Modelers on March 3rd. There's more information on that at rivercitymodelers.org. Not modeliers, modelers. I got an extra E in there. Apologies. Lewis County Model Railroad Club is having another swap meet down in Chehalis at the Blue Pavilion of the Southwest Washington Fairgrounds on April 6th and 7th from 10 to 2. They had one, I believe it was in November. I went to. It was a nice little swap meet. A lot of tables and a lot of traffic. So for those down the South Sound want to get to another swap meet, that's a good one to go to. And then the regional convention up in Surrey is May 22nd to the 26th. I don't know if you know anything about that, Kurt, but I thought I heard them saying that registration was closing soon. I can't imagine why it would be unless they're.
No, what's happened is the discount ended January 1st, I think.
Okay.
So now you're paying full fare.
The registration hasn't closed, it's just gone up by $50.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you, Jake.
And the hotel is booking, holding the rates until I think the end of April. It's 165 Canadian plus taxes a night. So 110 US roughly.
Okay. All right. And this is the website on here for more information for that. They have a very good website, and I was looking at it today. Then, of course, the national this year is in Long Beach, so it's nice that it is a West Coast convention. A Surfliner, and that's coming up in August. And of course, the other events as far as the clinics and the local P and 4D stuff is online at the 4D website under events. So tonight we're just going to do the what's in your workbench type thing. But before we do that, I thought maybe we just go around table and see if anybody has any anything other announcements they want to make, or any tips or techniques that you might have come across here.
Kevin, I have 2 items. Steve Shores here.
Okay, Steve, go ahead.
Tomorrow, the Olympia Clinic Zoom is going to be pretty cool at 7 o'clock. They're going to have 3 model railroaders who are also trained engineers talk about prototypical terms and strategies for switching and things like that when they come into a town. So that should be pretty unique.
Oh, yeah.
And then Elma has their swap meet February 10 and 11 in Elma. And then the Three Rivers Mall also has their swap meet May 4 and 5.
What were the dates on the Elma show again?
February 10 and 11.
10 and 11. Okay.
Hey, a little update. That clinic tomorrow night starts at 6:30, not 7.
Really? Okay.
Yep.
That's good to know because 7 was on the email.
Are
Yeah,
they
I do-
also, they're also doing dinner, right? Byron?
Yeah, they're doing dinner at a restaurant. They've already had the reservations on that at like 5:15, and the Zoom meeting opens up at 6:15, starting at 6:30.
Good. Okay.
Okay, thanks for the additional information, Steve. I'll put that on the agenda for next month.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're in advance.
Okay, awesome.
Kevin, this is Bob. I've got two.
Okay, Bob.
Schedule items for you as well.
Okay,
April 6th, Saturday, will be the 4D mini meet for the spring of this year. Location yet to be determined. It'll be a one-day event. Clinics in the morning, general member meeting, and layout tours in the afternoon.
okay. That was April 6th?
April 6th, location to be determined, more information coming.
Okay, okay. Is that gonna be a fee registration and everything again?
It'll be no cost to register. If you want a box lunch, it'll be $10 or $12, whatever the cost of lunch is.
Okay, okay. I was just asking because nobody's contacted me yet about I usually end up doing the website and the online registration for that, but I haven't heard anything about it yet, so that's why I was
Okay.
curious.
I'll keep you posted. I wasn't
Okay.
aware of that.
All right.
Kevin,
Not that I have to do it. I was just
hey, Kevin, I got another one to add to your list.
okay, Byron.
April 13th is a Santa Fe mini meet. It'll be in the PNR-NMRA building in Burien. I think it starts at 9 o'clock. 9 to 4. It's tentatively scheduled right now.
Okay.
And at this point, I'll be doing a clinic on backdrop photos.
Oh, nice, nice. That would come in handy. I've just sent my first one to Mike Sleece. It was just a cloud background and have that up on my layout now. And I'm working on some of my other ones. Been working on Photoshop quite a bit, so that might be a good one for me to look at here.
Okay.
Something I thought I might mention is the Grace Harbor passenger rail presentation that's going on in Burien on Saturday.
This Saturday?
Yeah.
Jack Christensen.
Yeah. Byron might know what time. I can't remember what time it is, but that's at Highline Heritage Museum.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, it's Jack Christensen, his operation going out to Grace Harbor line, and it's 11 o'clock. Limited seating to 25, but they will do a Zoom.
Cool.
Okay. Where can we find the link to that by chance?
I'd have to go look for it. I'll see if I can find it. If I can, I'll put it in the chat.
Okay.
I stumbled across it on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah, I hadn't heard anything about that. Is the Santa Fe mini meet is that like that's the Santa Fe Historical Society or anything like that? Or
No,
is it
no.
just
Whoever wants to sign up.
Okay. Okay.
I'll get more information for you for next month.
Okay. Sounds good. Perfect.
And Kevin, I've got one more.
Okay.
Longer term down the road, but 4D is submitting a bid to host the NMRA National Convention in 2027.
Right.
And that presentation we made to the board in late January in Amherst.
Okay.
So we should have an answer by 1st of February.
Okay. So there's an opportunity for a lot of volunteer and helping out.
Yes, and a real good opportunity without having to do a whole lot of traveling.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay. Anybody else have anything? Okay.
Well, not an event, but I got a tool thing that I just got that people might find pretty interesting.
Yeah, go for it, Larry.
So I was watching, train stuff on YouTube, and there was an advertisement for the slided headband, which people see. A lot of people have those single light things, which I've always found them to be too spotty. This thing I'm going to turn on, and I'm not going to point it at the camera.
Oh,
It
wow.
has a whole band that lights up. So if you're working underneath your layout, trying to see all that lighting and everything, and it's got a spotlight on the side too, if you did want to go that route. So you can actually like set it different light. I'm not holding it up. You can set a different lighting,
Oh,
brightnesses
wow.
and such.
That's just an Amazon find?
Yeah, and it's like 2 for $25.
Oh,
I'll put the USB-C chargeable. I'll put it in maybe the chat here if I can
sure.
find it
Yeah,
real
that'd
quick.
be great.
Anyway.
That's handy. I've been doing a lot of crawling around on my back lately.
It's also good. It's also, you can set it to do like this little hand wave thing. So if you've got it on, you don't have to fumble around for the switch. You can just wave at it.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay. Yeah, thanks for that. Anybody else? Otherwise, we'll start going through what I guess what I'll do. Kurt, do you have many bring and brags there at the in-person or?
No.
No. Okay. I was gonna say we could do those first, but
Larry, you look like you have a layout going on there. Maybe you should start out showing us what's behind you.
I've got just my layout going on here. You guys have, some of you guys have seen the YouTube videos that I do on this thing. And, but I did send Kevin a couple of pictures earlier this afternoon. Basically just, I can go ahead and just tell you guys what they are now. And
well, I've got you in my presentation. We scroll through,
okay.
Larry.
I'll hold off on that then.
Okay.
The thing I didn't send you was some just scenery stuff I've been working on that's not related to that. Just trying to give myself some time to work on something besides the thing that I sent you.
Sure. Well, why don't we, when we get to that point, we'll let you show us that.
Okay. Sounds
perfect. Good. Okay. Yeah. If you haven't checked out Larry's, YouTube channel, he does a really good job with it, and it's fun to watch. Okay, let's see. Share.
I try not to make it too serious.
See, let me share. Where did my there we go. Okay. Okay, so we saw that. Let's get down to, so Paul, you sent me some pictures on your layout updates. So if you want to explain what we got going on here.
Okay, some of you may have remembered that I did a presentation on this last spring when we had our meet there at well, near the Tacoma Dome. I can't remember the hotel name. Anyway, so this is the operating level track plan here, and this is a small room. It's only 11 feet square, and so I've put a whole bunch of railroad into a small space, as you can see. I guess you could call it kind of spaghetti, but it's coming along. The staging level, which if you wanted to bring that up, that image up.
Okay. Oops.
The staging level to the left is all completed, as well as what's to the right there, which is a ramp track that goes between this staging level and the upper level. And those are both done. And actually it was the ramp track that I did first because I wanted to make sure that the trains could actually maneuver between those two elevations. And this as you can see, the shop there, it is at a lower level. It's a half a story down from the study, which is where the actual train room is. And so I get to all of that track up there via an 8-foot ladder. So I can reach up there and get things. And it's also used as staging because there is 3 tracks there. And as you enter this ramp area, there are turnouts. The staging level is penetrates through that wall at the lower middle portion up there at the lower level. And then the track comes back through the wall into the study at the upper center portion. So let's go back to the other plan. So at this point in time, I've just completed installing all of the turnouts. The turnouts are manually operated from the front of the layout because the elevation of the layout, I figured it was going to be pretty inconvenient to be reaching over rolling stock and so forth. Not so much scenery because this is mostly an industrial area and most of the structures are going to be up against the backdrop. But because of the elevation being at 56 inches, if you are just standing normally, reaching over that without knocking cars off the tracks is going to be a problem. So I've made it such that all of the Pico turnouts are operated via a rod and tube arrangement with just slide switches being the controller. And so those are all installed and the turnouts are all now installed, and it's on the roadbed is foam, as in camper seal type of expanded foam material. So it's very cushy. The bench work is all very lightweight. So I wanted to make sure that acoustically that the trains don't make a lot of racket when they're running around. And it seems to work quite well at the staging level. So I presume it'll work just as well on the operating level. Everything is supported off the wall. There's nothing that's supported off the floor. So it's all brackets or struts that come up from the staging level to the upper level. You can move on to the pictures now, the photographs. So here you can see looking down one side here, see the turnouts installed. As the picture on the left, you can see that there is actually kind of 2 bridge elements there. One is at the staging level. It hinges on the right-hand side there as you're looking at it, and it hinges down. And the upper level, which is a bridge across a river element, a water element, will hinge up and swing up to the left. And it's held up in place by a magnet, one of those. You've ever seen a door stopper that's a magnet? That's the kind of magnet that there is that holds that up into place. So it's pretty easy to move things up and down. On the right, you can see that upper bridge element and the turnouts in place. On the far right side of that right-hand photograph, you can see the hole in the wall where the tracks will be coming out of the high area of the shop and the trains coming up. And there's a Y that occurs in that location. So that would be an opportunity to turn locomotives around if I need to. Need to say though that I'm modeling modern UP, and so it's there's not a lot of need for turning locomotives around like you would if you had steam locomotives. So that's kind of the situation there. The other thing, which isn't obvious in this photograph, but I've made this room really acoustically quiet. It's basically an anechoic chamber in that the reverberation is 0.3 seconds, which is really, really dead. And I did that because of sound locomotives tend to be a real racket maker. And I wanted to make sure that that you're not going to get a lot of reverberation or echo in the space. And being the space is basically square, that you're kind of fighting against that. So I've got real high quality acoustical treatment on the ceiling and upper walls, as well as between the two levels on the wall. So the notion is that the staging level is as quiet as it can be, and is kind of invisible, if you will. It's an off scene or off stage type of a situation. Let's move on to some other photographs here. So here's those bridge elements. The upper one hinges up to the right, and the lower one hinges and drops down to the left. And that's the door into the space. It's a pocket door. And so it doesn't take up any space in either the dining room, which is beyond, or this space here. Now, this is a study as well as a train room. So my wife and I share bookcases. We facilitate many Bible studies. And so we've got lots of books and so forth on the left-hand side. And then I've got cabinets and a drawing board. And I usually keep a little keyboard in there as well. So it serves double use, and that's the reason why the track is as high as it is so that these other elements can coexist in there. Let's move to another photo. This shows where the staging level, these two locomotives are just on little sidings there, but this shows the opening that goes through to the shop as it begins the ramp upwards. And it just goes up 10 inches in that adjacent space. So it's not particularly steep, but it is, I think, somewhere between 2.6 or so percent slope going up there. So it's enough that if you had a long train, you'd want to use two locomotives. So it forces you to do that. There are flip down doors that close off these spaces, so they're open right now. But if you can batten them down and close off the two spaces. If I'm making a lot of racket in the shop and don't want to have that noise coming into the house there. See that Ziploc bag to the right? That's what controls the LED lighting, which is under the upper level, that gives you this nice lighting. Let's move on to the next photo.
Quick question, Paul. Are
Sure.
you using strip LED lighting?
Yes.
Okay, I might have to talk. I've been looking at it. I've been in the market for doing the same thing here on my layout, and I'm curious to see what you ended up using.
Another photo here will show it.
Oh, okay.
You
There
see
it
it
is.
there?
Okay.
Yeah, it's a peel and stick, and it sticks really well. And it's comes in I think this was about a 40 or 50 foot roll. It wasn't terribly expensive, and it is dimmable. It's also able to change colors so that it goes from, you can have a fairly warm white kind of lighting to a real bright white. Right now, I think I've got both the white and the yellow on, so it gives a pretty good color rendition. And the one thing to be careful of is, and I learned this the hard way, is I've had to repair a couple of spots because I ended up putting a screw or a nail in through my thin bench work there, my 3/8 inch plywood, into this. And it doesn't like that to happen because the circuits are so close in that little strip. It doesn't take much to cause a problem. So I've had to do some jumpering to overcome my carelessness.
Curious, are the strips connectable end to end, or is each strip a separate plug-in? And
about let's say approximately every foot, 9 inches to a foot, there's a place where you can cut it and solder a very fine wire onto it. There's a little solder tab, and it's really fine. So you have to be really good with your soldering iron. And then you can jumper it to another spot if you have to break it and maybe go through an area that you don't want lights.
Okay.
And it is, you can fold it to go to change directions. It's like a piece of heavy tape. And like I say, it's got real aggressive adhesive on it, and it's just got to peel off back. So, you know, it's pretty straightforward. I got it off of Amazon, I believe.
And the remote control came with it, obviously.
Yeah, it's just got a you know, a little plug in there. And so it changes the voltage, whatever it is, changes from, you know, the 110 down to there, to the low voltage that is used in the lights.
Cool.
Hey, Paul, what was the second strip they have to the right or left of the light?
That's my bus, electrical bus. It just,
Oh, okay, thank you.
It's wound black and white wires. I think it's 16 gauge wire, so plenty heavy for this little space. And that what you see off to the right-hand side and somewhat on the, I'm going to call it the ceiling of this space, is some acoustical treatment there. So that's part of that sound absorption I was talking about. Let's go to the last, I think it's just one more photo. So this gives you an idea of you know, the kind of light that you get under there. And now I have the room lights on, but because this staging area is shallower bench work, it's mostly in shadow from the upper, from the lights, the indirect lights in the rest of the room. But you can see you've got plenty of light to be able to read the car numbers and see what you're doing regarding, you know, coupling and uncoupling. And by the way, I've got tons of homemade magnetic uncoupling ramps here that are underneath the ties. They're all from the super magnets that you get from Sonicare toothbrushes, and they are adjustable. So if you don't want to have it operate, all you got to do is just shift it about 1/4 of an inch and it's inoperable. You know how frustrating it is when you sometimes don't want a magnetic uncoupler to be there at times when you're shuffling cars back and forth. Anyway, I think that's the end of my yak. I'll let somebody else.
Okay. Thanks, Paul. I might have to get in touch with you and see if I can get the exact name of those LEDs. They look fantastic. Chip, the LB Kirk Church.
I just wanted to share a little bit of my process for what I was doing for the LB Church. I did show, or at least talk about it. I didn't show it last month, but I had printed the whole church on speculation as one piece, and then I kind of painted the roof and the steeple and that kind of stuff, and the windows, the black. In this case, I wanted to print everything in the color that it was going to be, so I split it out into the various parts. So I built the church in the middle piece here, and then I slid parts off in one direction or the other just so I could work on them a little bit more independently. You can see two main bodies parts of the church. One of them was so I could, well, sometimes I keep it as a reference, but the one that moved to the back right is so I could work with the roof sections and make sure they had the proper notches and alignment and things like that. And so I actually did print the body, the foundation part, and oh, there's a little there's the alcove that kind of goes back. You can see it standing in the front piece there, white and brown there. It's a little alcove. That's kind of where the back part of the front of the church is. Because it's a Lutheran church, I'm not sure of the exact name of what it's supposed to be. But anyhow, so that's been printed, and then I just downloaded or sliced it today, the tower part. I just finished assembling the steeple with shingles, and I printed the roof without the shingles, and I'll print the shingles tonight on the main body, and start getting it assembled. But I just wanted to share some of my work process for creating a relatively simple project, as complicated as I possibly could.
Hey, Chip.
It's
Are you doing resin or are you doing
Oh, no, this is all filament.
Okay,
And
Type of filament, Chip.
this is HO. Well, I mean, I'm printing it right now in HO, but it could be scalable to, well, it could probably be scalable to anything, but if it did go down to N, it'd have to be resin printed or shapeways printed. Yeah.
No, what type of filament are you using?
PLA.
PLA? Okay, thank you.
And I've got it set at 0.2 millimeter layer height and using a 0.4 nozzle. And, you know, it's one of those things where you can look really close and find all kinds of problems, but once you get it on the layout and run a few trains by it and forget about it, it'll look like a church. I just kind of always wanted to do it. I saw it on Gene Swanson's layout. He had done one in wood, and I just always wanted to do one myself. And since I can't cut two 90-degree angles on the same piece of wood, I waited until I could do it in 3D printing.
Never having messed with SketchUp or any other 3D CAD program, Chip, how many hours do you think you have into this particular model? Do you have any idea?
Well, I'm pretty quick anymore. 10 or 12 years ago, I'd probably have 200 hours into it. But I probably did the original, what I call version 1, where everything is assembled and everything is in its right place and right dimensions. I probably got less than 20 hours in it. That's getting all the clapboards and everything in it. Also, I probably put another 10 hours into disassembling here and getting the little pieces that help hold it together. You see the notches down on the foundation part that kind of help alignment. You know, I think way back to Plastic Bill, you know, when they had those little plastic models, you put them together and, you know, they look plasticky. Well, those little notches really help align things. And
Sure.
and the biggest thing I've learned too is I need 10 thousandths clearance between everything. So when I make two pieces that mate against each other, I have to have at least 10 thousandths clearance. So if I'm drawing it in prototype, which is this is full size, and I'm doing it HO, I need 3/4 of an inch clearance. And then that modifies down so that then everything just slides together, just because of the roughness of the filament printing. So that's it.
You did
Thank
great
you.
work, Chip. Thanks.
Yeah, impressive.
I do have a question regarding the light tightness of the model when you put it all together. Do you with those joints that you have there, are you getting things light tight, or would you think that you'd want to have that?
I don't like interiors because I don't do very much interior. One thing is there is the white that I'm using right now is almost translucent. So even if you had a light on the outside of the building on the far side shining through, it would probably still show up on the front side. It's I prefer one type of white, but I ran out of it and I ordered this other stuff that was a little bit cheaper, a little bit quicker, and I've been paying for it ever since. So no, light tightness I don't worry about because I'm not an interior lit person.
If you were concerned about it, would you use a different color filament, and then that ridge on the bottom there, you'd run it continuously around so you wouldn't get any light leakage at the joints?
I would probably do another whole layer of stuff if I was trying to get light tightness. I'd probably end up painting the inside just to get it. I don't think this. Well, for one thing, the body itself, as you can see on the left, that did print as one piece, so those corners are solid. But like joining it up to the tower, I mean, as thin as this wall material is, it's not going to stop the light regardless of what you use.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, thanks, Chip.
Yep.
Okay, Scott, Hazel Redbird branch line.
All right, so just kind of starting on scenery on the layout, and I had before the regional convention in May, I had put in the other slide will show it a little more, but I finished off kind of the background, photo background, applied that to the backdrop, and my fence line and grass. And then here a couple of months ago, I said, well, maybe it's time to assemble the grain elevator, the cement grain elevator. So that's just the Walters Prairie Co-op cement grain elevator there. And so I got it all glued together, puttied the all the seams and sanded it and painted it and sanded it, puttied it, sanded it, the drill. Uh, and kind of got that built. It's not completely done, but that's what it came out to be. And then I also did the rest of the backdrop of trees behind the elevator. Recently I did that. And that was just a picture off the internet for the one behind the elevator. The other pictures on the backdrop are all ones that I took on a trip back to the Midwest a few years ago. And then I also started putting down the ballast on the main line and the arrival departure tracks. So anyway, so that's the elevator project I was working on. And then the next slide up then, Kevin. Yeah, so this one shows the ballast on the arrival departure tracks on the right, mainline ballast, and then the yard, and then the elevator track was just some it was dirt and gravel from my relative's place back in the Midwest, and just use that for ground cover there. And as you can see, the backdrop's just I painted the backdrop quite a while ago for the sky, and then just did photo backdrops for the cornfields and the trees there. And then a combination of using wooden toothpicks and some really small piano wire and then thread along the grass fence line there behind the train. So that's kind of where I've been at. It's a slow go, but anyway, something to show that's a little different than what it was like in May. If anybody saw the layout on the layout tour in May, so
Yeah, good, bro. Definitely looks Midwesty. You've captured that. Look good.
that's the whole plan. So at least on that part of the layout, yes.
Awesome. All right, thanks.
All right.
Ken. Is Ken here?
Yep.
Okay, Ken, what I'm going to do, you go ahead and talk, and then when you're ready, I'll try to show that video you sent me.
Okay. So some time ago, I did a clinic on the crossing gates I built on my railroad. And I recently added some traffic lights to my layout. So what I have here is a video that shows a train going through the crossing. So you can see the lights flash, but also there happens to be a traffic light in that scene. So you can see the traffic light cycle through red, yellow, green.
Okay, let me see if I can get that to go here. People see that?
Yes.
Nope.
No.
Title slide.
See here. Can't see that yet?
Nothing.
No.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to try to start again here.
Are you running it separate, or were you running it on PowerPoint?
It's not on the PowerPoint. It's separate.
Yeah, it's just a video I took with my camera. Not my cell phone, because I would never be able to hold it still. So I had to use a camera I can put on a tripod.
Okay, here we go. I think this is going to work now. See that?
Yes. Yeah. It's not
Okay,
moving.
Yes.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, so, oh, there's no sound, darn it. So the train's going by. I don't know if you can see the traffic light. It's yellow now. It shouldn't be yellow that long. Oh darn, you can't see the traffic light in the video. There, I can see it's green now.
Oh, yeah.
There, it just switched to yellow. It only stays yellow for
Move
about
your
3
mouse off of the
seconds.
bottom. Start it again and then move your mouse off the bottom.
Doesn't seem to want to go away. There we go.
So you can, and there's no crossing gates on this because I discovered that putting in the crossing gates was really difficult because I can't access the underside of the table. But there's a little traffic light there. Can't remember where I got them from. I got them off the internet. I think it was something called AliExpress, A-L-I Express. And there's in China. Yes, made in China. There's 3 lights in the traffic light, the red, yellow, and green.
Yeah.
And I've got it controlled with an Arduino. And then the crossing gate, the crossing thing, I guess you call it a grade crossing. I did all the hardware and software for the grade crossing. There's ambient light sensors in the track. Then the traffic lights, it's a really dumb computer program. It just uses the delay. So, but I'm planning on adding in a signal from the crossing gate so that if the crossing is active, the light will be red, so you don't try to drive through and you can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Well, that means I'll have to completely rewrite the software for that controls the traffic lights.
And those are all Adrenos, you said?
Yeah, they're all Arduino Nanos.
Cool. Okay. Any questions for Ken? All right. Next up's Larry. Ballast on the South Olympic branch.
Yeah, I've just been doing a lot of ballast. This is actually the later photo. The other one is the earlier photo.
Oh, I can go to that first. There we go.
Yeah, I make my own ballast from sifted paving sand. Run it through a couple of kitchen strainers, and get it down to the size that is pretty close to what I want. Because that stuff is made of basically the same stuff that they make ballast of around here, it looks like the real thing. So I've just been doing a lot of only got about 4 feet done, but that's what I've been doing for the last probably week when I had time. Ballast, and more ballast. And then I took a break from that and I did a couple of things, which I was just cutting out using my hot wire. Well, not that brand of hot wire foam knife, but one of those hot foam knives. And cut up a couple pieces to fill in some scenery pieces around here. That's pretty much what I've been up to.
Cool. I like the color of your ballast. I'm going to show a couple pictures of my latest ballast, and I'm a little bit disappointed with it. I got mine. Well, when I get to that point, we'll talk about it. But.
Sure.
Larry, you screen the ballast to get the right size, but do you use a magnet to get the iron pieces out, or the magnetic type material?
So this doesn't seem to have any of that in it, because this play sand that you get, or the paver sand that you get from Home Depot. Mm-hmm. The stuff we used to use at the TNW was from the Carbon River, and that stuff had some. I used to get stuff in my locomotives all the time from that layout.
Yeah, our club here, we screened our own ballast. I'm going back 30 years now. And what we found is a lot of it was magnetic. We found it after the fact when some locomotives didn't work very well, and the magnets and the motors were picking up grip.
The guys the guys at the TNW, somebody picked up a bucket of sand out of the Carbonator, the river out of Carbonado, and that stuff had all kinds of iron filings in it. Yeah, and ended up I have a Kato SD40 that Kato SD40 that has a speaker in the bottom of it, and the whole speaker was just coated with that stuff.
I'll be darned.
My entire yard is
Good.
river sand, and I never took anything out of it. I never even tested it. I never even thought about it. But it's glued down so damn well, nothing ever comes up out of that. And all I did was sift it a little bit just to get the sticks and stuff out. But it's very, very fine, very fine. Yeah. Huh.
Can
Looks
you,
good there.
can you tell a change in sound with the train running coming off of not ballast track and going on the ballast track? Does it change at all?
I can't tell any difference at all.
Okay.
I have noticed I on the first couple layouts I did when I was ballasting, I was using just white glue, diluted white glue, and I've switched to matte medium, and that seems to be a dry. It doesn't dry as hard, and it seems to be a little bit more, at least to my ears, sound absorbent than the
I
white
think
glue.
sound is more roadbed design than ballast.
Yeah, you know, Kevin, I think you might be right though, because I used diluted white glue on the first layout that I did, but my roadbed was cork that was laid on top of extruded foam board insulation, and I think that stuff resonates. I had a lot more noise with that than I had with the than I've got laying cork on plywood.
Well,
So-
mass is what prevents vibration. Paul can attest to that. You really want mass, and the foam isn't massive, whereas the plywood is more massive.
Yeah, I wouldn't build another layout on top of that foam. It was just, at least not the roadbed anyway. That was just a bad idea. Anyway.
Okay.
I like your
I've even tried the foam ballast or the foam roadbed and ballasted that, and I can't really tell a difference. They say it's supposed to be quieter, but my hearing's not that good, so I don't really care. As long as the trains run.
Yeah.
I like your rock.
And I can't even hear my trains.
Just
Jim
thanks, Chip.
Sable did a clinic on sound deadening a few years back in the in-person clinics, and he put Homosote roadbed on top of Homosote sub roadbed, and that was he had noise meter and everything, and was
I
demonstrating
think
that.
Homosote is the secret. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that really does. It's hard to get though.
I'll have to see what Steve Cox's layout sounds like when he actually gets more trains running.
Right. He stopped making
But-
the Homosote, didn't he?
Yeah, but you can get it from a guy out of Texas, I think.
I think Steve's
which-
probably got a tons of 4x8 sheets probably he'd sell to you. If you want to cut your own
No thanks.
Yeah. That's a mess.
Yeah.
left over.
This is Warren at the live happening. I found that Homosote is available at Gray Lumber in Tacoma.
Really?
They told me it was available.
After I bought all my cork.
Sorry.
That's all right. Okay, anything else, Larry?
I think you'd still have to mill it. So, you know, that's the
that's
messy
true.
part of the whole thing.
That's true.
No, I think that's all I got. That's basically what I've been doing.
Got another video
lately.
coming out soon?
Yeah, probably pretty soon.
Cool.
I'm trying to step it up there for a while. I let it slip to about a month, and I'm trying to get it back to 2 weeks. Just you know, so
They're a lot of work.
oh yeah. People seem to like it though, so like I find
I
some
enjoy 'em.
YouTube stuff entertaining that other people have done too, so I like to contribute.
Yeah. All right, Stephen, layout update for you.
Yeah, I just wanted to show some really small things that I did, that probably the most recent. I've got about 3 areas on my layout where there's a grade and you need to use that trackage for your operations. So you need to set cars out. So as far as a brake to keep the cars from rolling, I really credit Chuck Lee. I was at Chuck Lee's place operating, and I thought it was a piece of electrical wire laying on his track, and I tried to brush it away, and sure enough, it was a brake. It wasn't really just scrap electrical wire. So I took that and tried to improve upon it. So you can see the last brick in the wall there is attached to a little piece of piano wire, which goes through a piece of brass tubing. And when I flip that brick up, it becomes a brake. So it's
I'll be
uphill
there.
to the right, downhill to the left. If I flip that brick down, then the wire just lays between the track. And I like doing a lot of these little hidden little gems that, you know, once you operate a time or two, you remember where they are. But just like a lot of my turnout throws are various scenic details, I figured I would do that too. So the next slide.
That's
probably
that's
shows-
pretty ingenious. I had the same issue on this layout, and I used a tortoise underneath there to make the wire go up and down, but that would have been less expensive.
Mine's a lot cheaper than a tortoise. Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I use the B strings on my guitars. And this is another area, and it's a tree stump. It's just a little tree stump. It's laying on its side right now. But when you flip it down flat, it just looks like a tree stump with some vegetation growing around the bottom of it. And it's just high enough to catch the axle on the car. And if you go the opposite direction, it'll flop it down. You have to kind of work with the weight. You want it to stay up and you want it to stay down. So you have to kind of work with your tree stump or your brick or whatever to make sure that when it's in both positions, it's falling down so that it's keeping that wire where it needs to be. Next photo is just a little barrel. Oh, well, I'll go back to the
Am
barrel.
I out of order?
No,
Probably
that's
am.
okay. It doesn't matter. So this little work car was just something that I kit bashed real quick. You know, I'm not a scratch builder or a craftsman kit builder, but I just took a 40-foot box car and cut it down to about 34 feet and cut it back and put a wet wood deck on it and grab some old scrap fencing that I had just to add to one of my work trains. So that's that. Yeah. And Marshall Wilson kind of got me going on this whole thing. This is in my classification yard. And I have the icing track you can see there so that I can ice my reefers. I'm walking out of the room here. Excuse me a minute. My wife just came in talking on her telephone. So I'm going to go downstairs. Sorry. So when my yard master obviously is very busy, but I wanted to give him more work to do. So they not only have to ice the reefers when they come into the yard, but because of the 28-hour rule, which Marshall kind of reminded me of, when cattle come into a lot of yards, they have to be fed and watered. So I added this cattle pen. And so now my stock cars have to be put there too before they're classified and go out on their various work jobs. So not a real new addition, but relatively. Okay, there's the barrel.
Wow.
This little red barrel sits on the side of the roadbed, and you flip it over and it's a brake. Flip it down and it's through. Okay.
Question, does that wire go up and down or does it lay over?
No, it just lays over. It's just bent at a 90-degree angle. So it's just a wire that's at a 90 angle. And it doesn't go through the roadbed at all. There's a piece of brass tubing that just goes between the two ties on the track. And it's glued underneath the ballast. I chiseled out the ballast, with a little piece of wire or a hobby knife and just slip the brass tubing in there. Yeah.
The brass tubing is horizontal under the roadbed.
Yes, brass tubing's horizontal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the wire, what you're seeing of the wire goes down vertical. Then there's a 90-degree bend where it comes underneath, and then it attaches to the barrel or whatever scenic detail you have. So,
Can you go back one picture so we can see what he's talking about?
yeah. So the wire goes down vertically. It's bent 90 degrees. It goes through the tubing, and then it comes out of the tubing. There's probably another bend on it, depending on the scenic detail that you use, but then it just is glued into the bottom of that barrel.
So it just lays down parallel to the rail.
Yeah, yeah. So actually the wire is probably more of a U shape, so that the vertical part that you see is there, and then the other part of the U goes into the bottom of the barrel. And so when you flip the barrel from one side to the other, I didn't have a photo of the barrel up, but it's kind of a U-shaped piece of wire. Each piece is kind of custom made depending on what kind of scenic detail you're going to deal with. You know, if you've got a drunk laying on the side of the track and you knock him over, that'd be a funny one. Yeah. But
Cow tipping, maybe.
yeah, a cow tipping over. There you go. Damsel in distress or something. I don't know. But yeah, I just took whatever I had in my scrap pile. I had barrels and got a lot of tree stumps, of course. But yeah. So yeah, if you flip that barrel up to the left, that wire is going to lay down to the left between the tracks. Okay. And I just threw this in because this is one of my favorite scenes. It's my newest scene, but it's still about a year old. It's kind of a farm area of Easton, which is on the east end of the Pacific Shores Railroad. Turned out pretty nice, I think. And I've got, you know, obviously there's buildings there. And then as I work towards the backdrop, it just gets thinner and thinner. So the fence is actually modeled, and then there's cattle behind the fence, but then behind the cattle, there's also internet photos of more cattle, and then the hills, and there's actually some little barns back there that are just internet photos. And then when you get to the mountains, those are painted, and the mist is painted, and the clouds are painted. And so it turned out pretty nice. I should have taken some close-ups of it, but this is just the east end of the Pacific Shores, which has trackage rights over the rest of my layout. And then it goes through the entire layout, but then it comes back and goes through that wall that you're looking at to the west end, which is on the other side of the wall, which is more of a seaport type of industrial area. So that's about it.
I have a question on your backdrop. So you must be, when you do the photograph, then you must do cutouts around the edges to keep the mountains and or the sky.
Yeah, I'll get photos that are of the perspective that I want, whether they're straight on or whether they're at an angle. I'll resize them. I'll change the color slightly if I can. And yes, I just trim them really, really close. And most of them are photographs. They're photographs of real. You can see a barn kind of there where that windmill. In fact, that windmill is actually not three-dimensionally. It's actually just a photograph too of the windmill that's right above that red pickup truck.
So on your very first one picture that you showed us, you said you painted the sky, but all the mountains and trees and everything must have been you must have cut out the back.
Oh, that one there. Yeah, that's actually I was.
No, I think it was another one that you talked about the background first.
Yeah.
Different person.
Might have been a different person. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Different backdrop.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, that's all I got.
Okay.
How wide is the layout section from the front fascia to the wall?
It's probably 24 inches. I try to stay within that if I can.
Looks
Yeah.
good. It gives a nice dimension.
Yeah, it has a real nice
Fancy.
dimension. You know, I don't. That's just shot with my phone, but I'll have to get Scott to do some nice little close-ups sometime.
Thanks, Steve.
Sure.
Okay, a little update on my Washington Northern Juan de Fuca subdivision there I'm working on right now. This is some of the first scenery I've done in one section. I apologize for the photos. They're really dramatic lit. This looks like it's either early morning or late at night, but it's just because, as I mentioned before, I haven't installed my LED lighting yet, so I'm having to use little shop lights to light certain places. But this is in a district I'm calling the Gardner Industrial District. It's going to be mainly a switching area of the layout. This is part of the scrapyard and some other industries there to switch. Another view of it from above. Try to give it kind of a muddy look by running some older vehicles back and forth across it. After the dirt dried, I just brushed on some gloss acrylic medium to kind of give it that shiny look. It's kind of hard to see in this angle. Like I said, the lighting's horrible, but apologize for that. Anyway, that's what I did. And the junk is just every little bit and scrap that I've taken from kits and pieces that are left over. I've just put them in a big coffee can and basically just dumped these all out and glued them down and rusted them up, and got another 2 big piles to go on the other side of the scrapyard too. It's kind of a little tedious, but it's actually kind of fun to do and gives nice detail, I think. This is another industry, Gardner Energy Systems, and I got this idea, I forget where I saw it, but it was another modeler had done this, and it was based on a prototype industry that takes old used industrial oils and machining fluids and used motor oil and stuff, and they bring it to this thing and they ship it out on tank cars to be repurposed, recycled. So I thought that was kind of an interesting industry to model with see the loading rack in the background where I'll bring tank cars in and load up, get some tank car activity. The road here that you see on these 2 pictures, the asphalt is actually, I built a garden shed here on the property last summer, and I had some leftover asphalt composite shingles, and I just flipped them over and used the backside. And so it actually is technically really asphalt, but it's got a nice texture to it, and it's easy to cut cracks and grooves in it and stuff, and it takes color pencil for the lines fairly well. So anyway, that's what I've been using for the roads on some of these areas. And then Central Plastic Materials is just brings in plastic pellets and ships out plastic injection molded products and stuff. This is an area layout where to the right, I didn't get a picture of the tunnel, but there's a tunnel where it dips down in and winds back down into staging on the lower level. And this is where it comes out and enters the model portion of the layout. And the old tower there, further to the left of this, is where another branch line used to come in and join the main line. So there was a tower there, but that branch line has kind of been relegated to some of the industries that are in the background there. And so the tower is now out of service, and it made a good place to hide my tortoise machine for this crossover. I had to put it above the layout instead of below, because there just wasn't because of this benchwork structure, there wasn't room to put the tortoise down below, and I didn't want to fiddle around with the remote switch, so I just tipped it upside down and used that for that. But the other thing was the ballast that I was talking about. This is Arizona Rock and Minerals Ballast. This is the only shot I have of it. And I knew that it was ballast called Empire Builder, and what I was looking for was kind of something a little lighter than this. And I knew exactly the ballast color it was, because I grew up in Eastern Washington when the Great Northern was coming through town. So I knew exactly what the ballast color was, and I wanted something a little bit lighter gray. And the color here is a little bit off because of the lighting, the spotlighting that I'm using, as opposed to the LEDs, I think. But when I looked at it online, it was a lighter shade than I remember Great Northern ballast being. And I thought, well, that's kind of what I want. It came and it looked that lighter color, but after gluing it down, it darkened considerably. So I'm a little bit disappointed in how it's looking. It's kind of almost too salt and peppery for me. But anyway, we'll see. I might change somewhere along the line, or I don't hate to rip this out, but we'll just see what happens.
Airbrush it.
Yeah, that's probably what I'll end up doing. And then on the last layout, I know some of you have seen this, probably many of you have not seen this, but seen my former layout. I had a large paper mill structure, and I was going to kind of do that again. And I thought, well, I've already modeled that. I was going to model a large grain terminal, grain elevator, and I got the ship hull you see in the back as a bulk container. But I decided I'm going to do a large concrete cement manufacturing plant instead. So I'm just kind of monkeying around here with the layout of it and the organization of the buildings and stuff. I'm going to cut those large towers down a little bit to more closely match the elevators that are on the right, which are just the Walthers. I think it's well, the one on the left is on the kit that's the Valley Cement Company. The one on the right was from I think it was called I don't know.
Medusa.
Kit. Yeah, Medusa Cement. There you go.
Medusa, yeah.
Yep. And
Yep.
I'm gonna blend those two kits together. I'm gonna take out the back walls like I did the other one, so they match, and get those the loading sheds together to match up and that type of thing. And then I'm gonna have a big loading facility that goes over the water there to load the bulk cement container. I've got the ship model, but I'm gonna have to modify the above deck and superstructure to make it look like a cement loader now instead of a grain loader. So
Kevin, is that one of the Walthers kits, the original, the smaller buildings and the tanks?
so
scratch built.
Well, no, the Valley Cement kit came with the building on the left there, which is a dry storage bunker building, came with that, the smokestack, and then the two ends on the rotary kiln, which you can kind of see there in the middle.
The kiln, yeah.
Yeah, it came with that, and then the elevator that the conveyor belt is going on to, that set of four, actually it's 8, but 4 you see in the front, the grain elevators there, that not grain, cement elevators. They're the exact same elevators that came in the Medusa cement kit. So, but the one on the right is the Medusa cement. This in the front here, I don't know if you can see my mouse. Can you see my mouse?
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
That kit came from a Walthers modern flood coal loader kit. I just cut it down. It's not as tall, and then added some extra details for it. And I don't even know if I'm going to use it, to be honest with you, but I'm just trying to figure how everything would go. And then the 3 little aggregate hoppers there that go down to a conveyor belt below, that was old scrap stuff I had from, I think it was an old Keebri kit or something, some kind of European kit. Like I said, I don't know what I'm going to use yet. I've been looking at a lot of pictures of cement manufacturing plants, and they're almost as bad as paper mills as far as a maze of ducting and piping and, conveyors and everything going over. So I'm probably not going to pay real strict attention to the exact process of making concrete, but just try to get the overall impression of a large cement making industry that can take, cement hoppers and aggregate coming in by rail and that type of thing. So that's what I'm messing around. This is all on the first deck. The little black lines you see on the studs on the wall there up above, those are that's going to be the level of the second deck, which I haven't got around to doing yet. The only other thing I will show you is, kind of thrilled about this. Can you see that, or do I have to stop sharing and start again?
Can't see it.
Okay, let me start sharing again. Is I've been working with, how about now? Can you see that?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's my JMRI panel where I've like I said, I've been Larry's little headband there would have come in handy, and it still will. I might have to check that out for the lights, because I've been spending a lot of time on my back end of the layout getting occupancy detectors and all that kind of stuff working. And this is kind of I don't know if this is going to be the layout. It's because of how the layout twists and turns, and I would have liked to had it been when you're facing one direction, you're always east or always west, but unfortunately in the size room I have, it wasn't possible. So this whole switchback thing, I might get rid of that and just go end to end. But You can see that what's red now is there's train setting on there. And of course I can throw my turnouts here remotely. Those all work. Crossovers and all that stuff, you can throw those. But it's all working pretty good too. And as trains move along, it you know, tracks it and all that stuff. So the occupancy detection is working well. So took a little while to monkey with. I don't know how many of you ever played with Panel Pro and JMRI. It's a little learning curve there, but it's coming along. And the top area here is the staging. Got 2 tunnels, calm water line tunnels that come up into the main deck. So that's all wired up and ready to add some signals now and see if I can integrate that in some signal logic. But that takes up a lot of time. But anyway, that's what I've got going on.
I just sent you an email link to that headband.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's hard to balance a flashlight and a screwdriver and a wire cutter and a soldering iron. And
yeah. And I have an LED light that I got it's a DeWalt one that uses their standard battery that they use for just about everything now, their 20-volt battery.
Yeah.
And it has a nice little stand and everything, but you still have to point it, right?
Right. Yeah, I've got a Ryobi situation that's the same type of thing, but yeah, it's hard to, yeah.
And so I looked at I saw this headband and it just puts out just a flood. And I had it on, and Mary asked me a question. I walked into the living room with it. She goes, okay, don't, she's cover your eyes. She's like, what are you doing? Anyway.
Burning the retinas.
Yeah.
Hey, Kevin.
Uh-huh.
I may be able to shed a little bit of light on a couple of questions that have come up throughout this.
Okay.
Would you mind going back to my slide with the kind of the panorama shot?
Okay.
I remember if that was the first or the second slide on my.
Okay, let's see here. It's the quickest way I know how to do it. Sorry.
That's all right. So yeah, we'll go to the next one, I guess. Okay. So my first one would be Arizona Rock and Mineral. That is also what I have for my main line on this one, and also my arrival departure. And I've done a lot of research, and unfortunately probably bought more of their little bags, because just like you, I wanted a certain type of gray for my main line. And when I got it, it looked great. And then when I did a test sample of it, after I glued it and it dried, it got really, really dark.
Exactly.
And
that's what I should have done, is a test sample.
So what I ended up doing, I ended up buying a bag of most of their gray ballasts, and they all became a lot darker than I wanted to. And so the one that you see there on my main line is actually what they call their light gray. And because I knew if it was going to dry down like everything else, I better start as light as I can without going white, and seeing what it came up with. So that is the light gray. The one on the right side is actually called Northern Pacific gray. And that's what I originally wanted, but it got too dark. But I guess what I was thinking is that might be something that you would be looking for, as opposed to the Great Northern.
Right. That is closer to what I had in mind. Yes.
And I actually have a bag or two left of that. So I could show you. I actually made sample tracks too. So later I'll send you my sample track picture, and maybe that'll help you out. The next thing is, I believe Chip was asking about my background and around the trees and the backdrop. And so on my layout, yes, I painted the backdrop with just like that one. And I painted the backdrop ahead of time. And then those pictures from the internet, or from what I took a picture of, then I went through with an X-Acto blade, and I cut out around the trees, cut out the sky and the clouds that were already in the pictures. So what you're seeing is just the trees or just the cornfield pictures there. So I cut out around those to go against my backdrop.
Now, are you printing your backdrops? Are you printing them just like 1117 paper, or are you taking them to a printer and doing banners, or?
So the first one that I did, actually, so this one here, behind the grain elevator, I bought a printer that'll go 13 by 19, and so I just print them off on matte paper myself, and print them out as long as I can. And I've only done that on this particular one behind the elevator. My original ones were all done on 8 by 10, 8.5 by 10 paper. So if you look real close, you'd be able to see all the seams where I had to glue them together, but I'll hide those with scenery
Sure.
and everything. But no, I did not take them to commercial printers. I just did them myself.
Yeah, I learned from Larry there on his videos that he was taking them to Mike Sleece down there at Speedy Printing in Tacoma. And so I took my first one down there, the Sky, you might have saw on my photos. It turned out really nice. I mean, it's good quality material, but it is a little pricey. And you have to go, I've got probably 2 levels, 15, 30, 45, another 90 feet to go. This was a 12 foot or so. It can add up. But
Well,
you know, I kind of think that I'd have a lot of seams if I didn't.
yeah,
take
and
it
there's
there,
nothing
but
wrong with the seams in particular. For me, between this slide and the other slide, you'll notice my horizon line is really, really low. So I don't have a whole lot that gets printed.
right.
It's
Yeah.
only 2 to maybe 3.5, 4 inches high. So I didn't need all the sky. I mean, my whole backdrop, my masonite board is 21 inches. I didn't want to have to try to fill all that and try to match the sky for half of my layout and around a curve. So I used that for the paint, went with the low horizon line, and it accomplishes the, as you say, the Midwest really look.
Mhm. Well, me modeling the Northwest, I was looking for very cloudy skies,
Oh yeah,
that
yeah.
type of thing. So
Oh, I painted my backdrop 3 different times just to try to get the sky to go from darker blue to lighter blue, and it's more noticeable when you see it in person than you do in a photograph. But so
Kevin, I'll send you I took a few pictures down at Grand Mound a few years ago,
mhm.
and I created a panoramic backdrop out of those. And I really liked it. Doesn't fit with my layout, unfortunately, but I really like the pattern of the clouds that I got into that. And
Okay.
I don't know, maybe you'd like that. I think Mike Sleece is going to print out a couple of those for the 4D HO modular groups, kind of generic backdrops. But
Okay.
it was really ironic. I went out and took panoramas with my phone here last year, right? And it just so happened the day that I was out in Hoquiam and Monty and Elma. And the irony of the whole thing is that it was almost a perfectly clear sky that day. And it's like, okay, where was all this when I was a kid? Because it seemed like it never sunshined out here. Anyway.
Hey, Kevin, it's Byron.
Hi, Byron.
Have you seen our club layout in the photos we did?
I haven't seen it in person, but yes, I have.
Okay.
I've seen it online and your Facebook channel and that kind of thing.
Okay.
Facebook.
We took the position of the old, it's always the bluest skies in Seattle, and just
Mhm.
added our own clouds to that. So every photo has 3 or 4 clouds that cover the, across the sky, but there's still a lot of blue. But you go with the haze as you get closer to the horizon, it
Mhm.
gets lighter.
Right.
So it's not of one solid color all the way through
Right.
with the blue.
Yeah, the backdrop I had here was just a cloudy sky that I took years ago, and I've just always kept it. The rest of the backdrop around the lower kind of industrial area is just a mixture of buildings I've found and mountain scenes that I've taken mixed with that same sky. And I'm about ready to send the second one to the printer, but the one that I'm kind of struggling with is the waterfront scene where that ship is. I want it to kind of be waterfront, but have the clouds too. And I haven't found the white water photo yet. As weird as that sounds.
No, I understand. I've got the
But-
same problem. Okay.
Anyway, no, thank you though.
Are you looking for like a reflection of the the brightness of the sun off the water? Is that what you're looking for?
Not specifically. We went camping down at Coos Bay this last summer, and if you've been down to Coos Bay, there was a campground, and they had a nice beach where you go out and take, kind of a panoramic. And unfortunately, it just since my water scene is on a lower level, the scene, it just didn't look. If you get down to taking photographs like for a magazine or to publish, it would be fine with the perspective. But from where you're standing, the water just didn't look right.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, it didn't look like it was going off into the horizon. It looked like it was going downhill almost.
As somebody who has struggled to get the perspective that I want for my photos, for my backdrops, I completely understand.
Yeah.
I completely understand. It's hard to get the right, picture of stuff when you're 6 feet tall and the world is what it is.
Yeah. It's almost like you need to rent a high boy to get you up in the air if you're shooting a scene or a lower level on your layout. You know what I mean?
I tried doing it with my drone, but there's something about the way the drone bends the photographs that I couldn't make photos. I'm not great with Photoshop. So, if that's something you want to play with, I can send you some drone shots that I took. Maybe you could see if that would work for you.
Sure. Yeah, take a look at them.
But yeah, I'll send you some photos that you can check out, see if anything kind of floats your boat when it comes to the water scene. But
Pun
yeah,
intended.
Exactly. Because my whole lower level, one side of my lower level is supposed to be along Grays Harbor or the Chehalis River. So I went out and I found there's a viewing platform in Hoquin where the Grays Harbor paper plant used to be. And so you can go up the viewing tower about 3 stories. And I took panoramas with my phone from there, and my iPhone 13 Pro I did some of the backdrops. After stitching them all together in Photoshop, I found that my phone actually did really well with panoramas after all that work. And it was pretty much just crop it the way I want it and send it to Mike. I mean, it literally is much easier. But I can send these photos to you and see if it's anything that
I'd
helps
be
you
interested
out.
in looking at them. Thank you. I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right. So I think that was all I have. If anybody else has anything here, am I still sharing here? So if you want to.
Recorded.
Okay. So I will share my screen. And everybody see that?
Sort of.
Sort of.
We didn't bring our binoculars.